Well, first I'd like to say that Podemos is a very important movement, and it is a beacon for people all over Europe and perhaps well beyond Europe, because you have done something no one else has done. You've built a unified movement which is successful. Okay, you're not the government yet, but in a very few years you are, the last time it was 21%, it can be more than that, and I admire your work. So I was thrilled to be here and to be able to tell people that I think our main problem right now is the ongoing fight between democracy and the economy, which wants a single world market, which will be only the market. And democracy would disappear because business can handle all of our political problems. That's what David Rockefeller said 40 years ago. So they're doing this in many ways. And one of the ways that they are doing it is through the constant accumulation of wealth, through lowering wages, through cutting through laws, to the point that now, 40 years after the 70s, when capital was getting 30% of all of the GDP in Europe on average, and labor was getting 70% of the wealth produced each year, now it's 40% or more for capital and 60% down for labor. So what does that mean? That means every year there are millions of people who used to have more in their pockets because they were sharing an extra 1.6 billion euros worth of GDP. But that isn't there anymore, and it's all gone to the elites. And that is the reason we have such huge inequalities. So I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted also to talk about the trade treaties, which are not about trade. They are about giving a Bill of Rights to large transnational corporations that are investing here or there, and which have gained the right through a huge number of treaties to sue sovereign governments when they don't like a law, and when they can say, this law that you have passed has destroyed my legitimate expectations, and I'm going to sue you, and because you have harmed my profits, I want X million or even X billion dollars or euros. And this will continue to happen with a treaty which is much less well known than the TTIP, which is about Europe and the United States. But now they think that the TTIP is not going to succeed. Our politicians are looking scared. So now they're saying, but we will have the CETA because that's Canada, and the Canadians are nice, and the Americans may be difficult, but the Canadians are nice, so we can have a treaty with them. But that is pure hypocrisy, because the Canadians have all of the subsidiaries of huge American companies, which could perfectly well sue them in the same way that they could if they were suing from their mother house in the United States. It's a subsidiary that will bring the action to court. There's also regulatory cooperation, because the companies want to be there on the ground floor every time there's a regulation on chemicals, on cosmetics, on food, on the environment, etc. All the sectors have regulations which are generally much better in Europe than in the US, and the United States is looking to bring those down to the same level. The Canadian level is comparable to that in the US. So what would that mean? That would mean for your health that you would be eating GMOs, probably without knowing it, genetically modified organisms. It would mean that you were buying meat raised with hormones, growth hormones. It would mean that the environment would not be protected. Corporations say that everything that is a law in favor of labor or the environment is a cost for them. and they want to get rid of all those extra costs. They do not see the benefits, they do not count the benefits of having laws to protect people and their environment. So I call this a war. I think that for the moment, the companies have been winning, but the movement is growing stronger and stronger. I think we have a very good chance to get rid of these trade treaties. Our American friends are also now very much more aware than they were 20 years ago about what this so-called free trade actually is. It's a license for corporations to do exactly what they want. So I think we can win this one, but we need movements like Podemos to lead in Spain and to give the example to people elsewhere. Thank you.